What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the TCG Empire YouTube channel. Today we're going to be taking a look at Ancient Box. Ancient Box has been a new deck that has come out with Temporal Forces, and it is very strong as a single prize deck. The main attacker of the deck is this Roaring Moon right here with Vengeance Fletching. It does 70 plus 10 for each ancient card in your discard pile, so this deck is revolving around getting as many ancient Pokemon in your discard pile as you can. That way you can hit high damage outputs, taking 2 prizes, or dealing with 1 prize are super easy, and then in turn your opponent has to take this Roaring Moon out, which not only builds your ancient Pokemon in the discard, but it also is only worth 1 prize. So this 1 prizer has a great damage output, and it's very strong against things, especially 2 prize decks. Then we also have the Koraidon. Koraidon is going to be your alternative attacker if you ever need to. Most of the time though, you're going to be attacking with the Roaring Moon, but you do have access to Primordial Beatdown, 30 times the amount of ancient Pokemon you have in play. So if you have 5, you're hitting 150. If you have 6, you're hitting 180. It's just a great way to kind of deal early damage while you're building your discard if you ever feel the need to do it. And then you also have access to Shred, as we are playing 1 fire energy in here. Shred 130. This attack isn't affected by any effects on your opponent's active Pokemon. So this means that something like Noivern EX you can actually do damage to, since the effect is being placed on Noivern to not be hit by basic Pokemon. Shred can get through that. We're also playing 4 Fluttermane. Fluttermane is very strong against something like Blocklax. Midnight Fluttering, as long as this Pokemon is in your active spot, your opponent's active Pokemon has no abilities. So this means that you can really shut the deck down, and depending on what you're playing against, if you just keep this in the active, there's not a whole lot that your opponent can do. If your opponent's playing Lugia and they have a Lugia in the active, that means that they can't use its V-Star power. They have to move it to the bench, which can kind of get awkward. So it's definitely a super strong card, and we are playing 4 of it. We are also playing 1 Great Tusk. It's just an inclusion for Land Collapse, just in case you need to use Mill as your win con. This is the 2nd place list from Orlando, so we're just going to be taking a look at it today. And then your main supporters, we have Explorer's Guidance. You look at the top 6 cards of your deck, put 2 into your hand, you discard the others. And then we have Professor Sada's Vitality. You choose 2 of your ancient Pokemon in play, attach a basic energy to them, and then draw 3 cards. So it's a great way at being able to accelerate energy, so you can have multiple attackers in back-to-back turns. And then everything else is just pretty much running 4 ofs, like 4 Earthen Vessels, so that way you have the ability to discard cards in your hand and also search for energy, which means that you can use concealed cards to see even more. And then you also have Superior Energy Retrieval. This is just a 1-of, but it's in here so you can discard 2 cards from your hand and grab some energy, which means that usually you can grab an energy to attach return, as well as an energy to use something like concealed cards. So it's just super strong. And then there's only 2 Ultra Ball. You could run more, but 2 Ultra Ball is fine. Just mainly helps to thin in the late game, but because we are playing all basics, we're mainly running Nest Ball. And then there's 4 Pokegear for acceleration for supporters, and then the supporter being Awakening Drum, not supporter, the A-Spec. You draw a card for each of your ancient Pokemon in play. Most of the time, this will net you between 3 and 5 cards, depending on how your board looks. It's a very strong card, plus it's an ancient card, so not only do you get to draw off of it, but it also buffs your damage output. But that's pretty much it. Real quick, I'll throw the statistics up right here just so you guys can see how the matchup percentages usually went when it came to this deck. As we can see, Ancient Box over the last 2 regionals and UIC has performed greatly against things like Giratina Lost Box, only, losing 30% of the time, but winning 60%. Also taking W's over things like Future Iron Hands and Dialga. Having a even win-loss ratio against things like Espathra, which Espathra can be a little bit annoying just because they can lock you out of being able to attack. You need 4 energy to attack. And then really taking losses to things that are really big in the format, like Charizard Pidgeot, Qianpao Baxcalibur, Lugia Archeops. Most of the time, this deck is just really good against things that are non-meta, especially things like Charizard. You have a really hard time dealing with Charizard's damage output, and hitting that 330 is something that you really won't get to until the late game, so you kind of have to deal with it. But overall, those are kind of the statistics, just so you guys can see the number side of things for those of you that like the numbers. But as always, the deck list will be posted right here so that you guys have a full clean view of it. And in the description will also be the 60 card deck list I used in today's video, so you guys can copy and paste it into Pokemon Trading Card Game Live. Now, as always, I want to thank you guys for all of the love and support. This week was a little bit weird just because I had to take some time to really edit the video that I posted yesterday on Mastering Charizard EX. You guys seem to have loved that video, so I'm glad that all of my hard work paid off. But again, if you guys do enjoy today's video, do me a favor, smash the like button, subscribe, turn on post notifications. Let me know down in the comments what you think of Ancient Box, and with that being said, enjoy the gameplay, and I'll catch you guys tomorrow. Later. Alrighty guys, so let's get into the first game with Ancient Box. Looking for a good opening and a supporter to play. Explorer's Guidance, definitely not bad. Gives us the ability to get rid of some cards that we don't want, as well as some things that we do want. So, definitely not looking horrible. This hand isn't the worst either. We have access to Pokestop, Guidance. We won't be able to attack turn 2 unless we had a Sada. But for right now, I feel pretty okay with the way everything's going. And we have access to Earthen Vessel as well, which is huge. Depending on what we're playing against, I might go for a turn 2 knockout. We'll find out. If my opponent leaves Mew EX active, I'm okay with going for a knockout. And if my opponent puts a Miraidon inactive, I'm okay with going for a knockout on there, so we'll see what my opponent chooses to do here. There's an Iono. There's a Lightning Energy. Okay, so we might try and dig for the turn 1 knockout. It's gonna be kind of tricky. I need to find some energy to put into play, but we will go from there. So first thing we'll do is Radiant Greninja. That'll give us the ability to see some more cards, especially off of something like Earthen Vessel. Earthen Vessel, we'll get rid of the booster. Grab Double Dark. Concealed. Okay, Nest Ball Future Booster, that's fine. So, I need another energy in the discard. Okay, there's the other energy, so that's huge. Plus we have access to Ultra Ball, which is huge too, so... Okay, things aren't looking bad now. I just need to hit a Sada. So, we'll go for the Moon. Pokegear. And we hit the Sada, so that's perfect. That's exactly what we needed. So we should be able to take a knockout. How many do we have in the discard? 1, 2, it's already 90, 180. Okay, I don't hate that. We'll go Sada. It'll allow us to draw some more cards. We just need to keep up in the prize trade with what my opponent has going on. So I'm fine with that. So we can go Retreat, go into the Moon, attach. We'll go Booster, just so that way my opponent will have to potentially use Arm Press to take a knockout. And then we can go... Awakening Drum feels awful here. I think we're going to be trading prizes, so I don't think we're going to need the Counter Catcher, if I'm being honest. We'll go Ultra Ball. We'll grab another Moon. Put the Moon into play. Go Awakening Drum, just to draw some more cards. I know that my opponent has Iono in their hand, so I'm just trying to burn as many cards as I can. Just to maximize my chances. So... I'll put the Fire and the Fighting at the bottom of my deck. So we can go Fletching for 260. Take a knockout, so we're hitting 130 right now, so we need 10 more in the discard in order to take a knockout. Actually, I should have grabbed Dark, just in case if my opponent didn't Iono, then we still have the ability to use a way to draw, but that's fine. My opponent still has to find an incredible amount of cards this turn, which I don't think they're going to be able to do. So we have access to Earthen Vessel, which is huge. We have gear. We have Ancient Booster Energy Capsule. So I don't really hate any of this. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we're hitting 130. So we need 10 more. So that's 2. So that's 8. Pokestop could mill some more. We could also gear and hit a Explorer's Guidance. So we'll see what my opponent does. But for right now, they're just going Pokestop. So they do hit Counter Catcher, so they can bring something up, which is annoying. But we do have access to Earthen Vessel at least. So if they bring up a 1-prizer, then we can just Earthen Vessel for 2 energy, attach 1, retreat, go from there. So we'll see what my opponent does. There's the Counter Catcher. So they're bringing up the other moon. So now I'm going to have to play Sada if I want to be able to attack. But thankfully, like, I can afford to just hit this Iron Hands if worse comes to worse. So I don't absolutely hate it. So there's just the pass. And we draw an Earthen Vessel, so that's not horrible. So the first thing we'll do is Earthen Vessel, get rid of the Koraidon, grab 2 energy, go Radiant Greninja. We'll discard. Technically, I need the Dark in hand in case I draw Sada. So okay, there's double Dark. Anyways, we'll go Pokestop. Okay, not fully what I wanted, but I don't hate it. So now we can go Gear. Gear gets Boss, but Boss doesn't do too much for us. It allows me to potentially set up to be able to one-shot this Iron Hands next turn. So I don't hate that. It just definitely makes things a little bit awkward. But I think for right now, we're just going to attach. We're good to kind of keep putting pressure on my opponent. If we can build a one-shot to KO this Hands, we're in a good spot with that. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So right now we're hitting 160. So we still need 7. That's a lot. My opponent just discarded a lot. My opponent just passes. That's fine. So we get the Guidance, which is huge. Guidance could actually ensure that we can take a knockout. So we'll go Guidance first. And we'll grab... I kind of want all of these, if I'm being honest. We'll grab the Guidance so that way we can keep filling. And then I guess we'll grab Vacuum. Because this gives us a supporter to use next turn, which I'm fine with. Then we can go Pokestop. Okay, we get rid of 2 more, plus we have Pokegear. So how many are in here now? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So we're hitting 210, so I need to get rid of 2. So that means I can go Earthen Vessel, get rid of the Capsule. No energy in deck, but looking at what we have access to, we still have access to Palpad, which is good. So we're hitting 230 with Fletching, which is huge. So we can just go Concealed. Get rid of this. Then attach, take 2. My opponent's going to be able to move the energy, and then next turn we have Boss just to win the game. Now, if my opponent plays something like Iono, it's a little bit awkward, but it's not horrible. We still have ways to get out of it, so... Take 2. There's a Sada as well as a Koraidon. The nice thing too is that my opponent technically, they can't take a knockout, but if they do take a knockout, let's see, 40, 60, 80, 100, 120, 140. Okay, so they'll take a knockout, but that'll just pump our damage even more, and then we still have access to boss. There's Pokestop, again, not benefiting them. And there's the 140. Going to be able to power up the Iron Hands, but thankfully with taking the early 2 prizes on Mew, and then my opponent having a hand stuck in the active, give us a turn to build up to get to the one-shots. So worked out with what we needed. My opponent, thankfully, able to take at least 1 prize, but wasn't the greatest, so we'll Pokestop just to ensure that we have as much damage as we can do, just so that way I'm not overthinking anything. 250. We can go boss, bring up the hands, and then go for that 250 attack. I could have KO'd a crown too for 500 damage, which might have been more satisfying, but taking down the Iron Hands definitely was something that was a ton of fun. So it worked out in our favor. We were able to kind of build our board state. Using Drum for only 3 was kind of awkward, but when you're needing to take big one-shots, sometimes you might have to just not bench a lot of your ancient Pokemon. But that was game 1. Let's head into game 2. Hopefully have the same type of consistency. But again, that was game 1. Let's head into game 2. Alrighty, guys. Into the second game, our opening hand looks pretty good. If we can discard an energy off of Pokestop, we'll be able to Sada take a knockout. And assuming that my opponent can't do a whole lot, we are able to, again, take 2 prizes on a Mew, which could be huge. So we'll have to see what my opponent does. They might give us 1 prize. They might just bring up Dialga just for us to hit into it. So we will see what they do. Hero's Cape on the Dialga. Might have been better to actually put the Hero's Cape on Mew so we didn't take 2 prizes, but that's fine. So we get Palpad, so honestly, I just have to Pokestop, see what we get. Nothing quite insane. We do get a Fluttermane in the discard, but I need a way to get some more stuff in the discard. So I might have to go Nest Ball here, grab Greninja. So we have a Moon in hand, so no Moon is prized. We have a Fluttermane prized. We have a Koraidon prized. We have all of those. We have those. Okay, so not looking too rough on the prizes. So we do have access to concealed cards, which means we can draw. So my question is, how likely is it that my opponent's going to get something going turn 2? I don't think insanely likely. I could Sada for 1, which I technically don't hate the idea of doing. You know what? Let's go for it. So we'll Sada for 1, draw 3. We get the Dark, but we have no way to discard extra Pokemon. But thankfully we are hitting 180, so we do get to take a knockout, but this coming turn is going to be a little bit awkward. But at least we're going to get 2 prizes, and it forces my opponent to try and go into the V-Star and potentially use the V-Star early. So, take 2. We get Fluttermane and Pokegear. Not the worst. So there's the Jacques, so my opponent may be able to take a knockout here. The Hero's Cape is definitely annoying, but thankfully, with my opponent having Hero's Cape on there, we actually might be able to set up a multi-turn knockout by using the Vacuum to KO Dialga. So, see what my opponent does here. They do have access to double Metang, but they do have to set up some more. If worst comes to worst next turn, we'll probably just use Guidance, hit as hard as we can, and then go from there. There's another Metang. So my opponent needs to hit 4 energy in order to use Star Chronos. There's 1. So now they have to hit 3 energy off of this Metang. And they have to hit 2 energy if they want to be able to take a knockout with using Metal Blast. So just 1. So now my opponent is hitting 4, 8, 12. Oh, sorry, 160. I forgot it was 40 base. So now we're not in an awkward spot, but we definitely do want to try and get some setup going. So we'll go into the moon. We may have been a little bit punished for going for the turn 1, but it's not horrible. So we have access to draws, which is good. We have access to Fluttermane, Koraidon. I think I'm going to use 1 gear, see what we get. So we get the guidance. Okay. Go another gear. We don't hit anything. We do have access to Pokestop too. Now, question is, do I want to risk dropping Asadas right now? Okay. The gear was the correct choice. So now we can go Pokestop. I don't hate that. Okay. It gets rid of Asadas, which is a little bit annoying and unfortunate, but it's not horrible. And we do gain access to Earthen Vessel as well. So we can go Earthen Vessel, get rid of Fluttermane, grab Double Dark, and then we can go Koraidon, attach Dark. Does the booster do anything quote-unquote relevant? Not fully. So we're just going to go for the Sada. We'll go here and here. Draws 3 cards, so we do gain access to Nest Ball, which is great. And we still have access to Pokegear. So we get Nest Ball. Go for the moon again. Then we have access to Superior next turn. We can attack with Koraidon. The biggest thing is just making sure that my vacuum is in deck, which I should have checked with that, but it's fine. It's not the end of the world. Thankfully, though, we are 2-shotting, so depending on what my opponent does, it's not the end of the world. So we'll just go for the 150. Building up as much damage as we can. That way, if my opponent ends up going Cronus into KOing Moon, then we can still use Primal Beatdown and potentially hit enough to where a Vacuum play would KO. So my opponent getting rid of Iono and Dialga, I'm okay with that. There's the Metal Maker again. I think my fighting energy might be prized, actually, which is super awkward if it is. There's the Star Cronus. We do have access to Sada. Potentially there's one more in the deck, because there were all 4, so let's see. I'm trying to think if there's a way I can guarantee the Sada. So right now we'll just go Koraidon. There's the Poffin. I did have the fighting in deck, so I should have definitely kept the Koraidon, but that's fine. I should still have one more Koraidon in the deck, so it's not the end of the world. So my opponent whiffs some Metal Maker. There's the second Metal Maker coming in. Technically, if I can capsule plus find a way to get rid of the tool on Dialga, it'll be fine. It's just gonna be a lot for me to ask for right now, but it's not horrible. I just need to make sure that a Sada is in the deck. So, go Moon. We have the draw for turn. We get Counter Catcher. Now, Counter Catcher is actually pretty huge. We're hitting 170 with Fletching right now. So technically my prizes could be lined up here. So I don't hate that. Yeah, I just need to hit the Sada. So we'll go Palpad, put back double Sada. We'll go concealed cards, discard the dark because I can get it back. So we get energy capsule and booster. That's not gonna do us too much. Pokestop just to thin a little bit more. Oh, there's one Sada. So let's see. We'll go gear. I want to try to ensure the Sada, but I don't think that there's a way that I can. We'll go Ultra Ball, get rid of Flutter Mane, and we'll get rid of the Pokestop for right now. So we have the other Moon in deck. So we'll go Moon, Gear. We hit the Sada, which is perfect. Which means now we can go Sada, attach, attach. Draw us 3, so that's good. And then we have the attach return. So we're hitting 180, so I need to get rid of 4 more. So that'd be Ultra Ball as well as Superior. Because I'm trying to KO this Dialga. Because even though this one can attack, it still has damage on it. Which means that it's less that I have to work for later on. So, go Ultra Ball, get rid of double capsule. Grab. Great Tusk isn't going to do a whole lot. Okay, so my vacuum is in the prizes, so I need to hope that I can hit it. And if I don't, then it's not awkward, but it's more awkward than I would prefer it to be. So 200. So we'll go Counter Catcher, bring up this Dialga. Then we'll go Superior, get rid of Flutter Mane and Great Tusk. And we'll just get back a Dark. We'll get back 2 Darks just so that way I can attach one for turn still, but also have access to concealed cards. And then we can use Vengeance, take a knockout, and then we just have to try and do as much as we can to potentially knock out this Behemoth next turn. We don't get the vacuum either, which sucks, but it's not horrible. We still technically can take a knockout. It's just going to be a lot to work for. Well, okay, correction. We're hitting 220. My opponent knocks out this 230. 230 and 150 is 380. So I don't know why I'm stressing. If my opponent Ionos, I just need the Dark. I forgot that this already had damage on it, so yeah, we way overthought that. There's not a thing that my opponent can do aside from maybe Iono, but if they do play Iono, we still have a way to potentially get energy. We just need to hit an Earthen Vessel. So there's a Metal Blast. So my opponent just basically extending their hand, letting us get the final attack in. So we'll go Moon, draw for turn, rating 230. And just to ensure, we'll just grab as much as we can. Grab the Pokestop, and I guess we'll grab the Rod, just in case there's anything that I'm missing. I don't think that there is. Go Greninja. Draw 2, Earthen Vessel, Koraidon, Pokestop, and then just to be safe, now we're hitting 310, which I know exceeds 380, so I'm good with that. Sometimes math is hard, and the last thing you want to do is miss out on it, and there's that pesky vacuum that was prized, but I think that pretty much showcases the one prizer aspect of why Ancient Box is probably one of the best one prizer decks in the format. Its damage output is insane, and you have multiple attackers you can work with, so it's definitely a lot of fun. But If you guys did enjoy today's video, do me a favor, smash the like button, subscribe, turn on post notifications. Let me know down in the comments what you think of Ancient Box. And again, thank you for all the love and support on all of the videos, especially the one yesterday. I worked really hard on it, and to see you guys enjoying it really makes me happy. So again, thank you for everything, and I'll catch you guys tomorrow. Later.